Due to being late, Kenichi hurriedly bumps into a girl on the road. She mistakenly thinks he's an attacker and throws him to the ground. The girl immediately apologizes and helps him gather his books. Kenichi starts yelling at her, but the girl explains that as soon as they collided, her body instinctively acted. On the way to school, due to being late, the girl jumps over the river with Kenichi. She easily crosses it, but poor Kenichi falls into the river, and the girl has to save him. Because they arrive late to school, Kenichi is made to stand outside, but the girl goes inside. In the class, the girl introduces herself as Fumiji Mu. When the teacher learns that she has come to study from a prestigious school, he doubts her intelligence. To prove herself, the girl tells the teacher that as a punishment for being late, she is going to stand outside with Kenichi. Outside the class, Fumiji thanks him, even though he had helped her, and asks if he would like to be her friend. Hearing this, Kenichi's mood changes completely, and he immediately agrees to be her friend. After class, Kenichi is on his way to his karate club, when a strange-looking boy named Nijima stops him and starts bothering him. He calls him a coward and asks about Fumiji. When he doesn't get the answer he wants, he beats up Kenichi. Even in the karate club, he is beaten very badly, and everyone mocks him, calling him a loser. After the club ends, he is given the task of cleaning up as usual. After finishing the work, he starts practicing on the punching bag, but then this bully boy stops him and punches him in the stomach, saying that because he is weak, he doesn't deserve to be in the club. He threatens Kenichi to leave the club, to which Kenichi replies that if he becomes stronger, he won't need to leave the club. Hearing this, the boy can't stop laughing and gives him a week's time for a challenge, where the loser will have to leave the club. While going home, he reads a book on becoming strong and gets lost in his thoughts of defeating enemies and becoming a hero. Suddenly, he sees some goons harassing Fumiji and an old man. Instead of becoming a hero, Kenichi runs away in fear, but after a while, he feels ashamed of himself for leaving his friend in trouble. So he goes back and starts throwing random punches at the goons, thinking that one of them would hit. When one punch does land, it has no effect on the goons. Angrily, they take out knives, but before they can do anything, Fumiji quickly attacks them and defeats them easily. The goons run away immediately, and the girl calls Kenichi brave and thanks him again unnecessarily. Fumiji tells him how happy she is to have her first friend, and Kenichi tells her about his bad experience in the karate club. Hearing this, she says that the foundation of karate was laid to protect the weak from bullies, not to harass them. She suggests he find a good place to learn martial arts and karate. Following the map she gave, he reaches a deserted place and tries to open the door there, but fails. Suddenly, a huge old man comes and easily opens the door with just one finger. Seeing this, Kenichi gets scared and starts running away, but the old man stops him. Kenichi asks if he is a martial arts master. The old man thinks he is being insulted, so he tells him that in his entire life, he has never lost a single match. Surprised, Kenichi tells him that Fumiji sent him, and hearing this, the old man takes him inside. Inside, they meet a man named Pachai, who is vigorously training his boxing skills. Seeing Kenichi, he gets more excited and starts punching the wall, showing off his skills. They move forward where Kenichi sees a girl in a room. At first sight, he finds her very cute, but he is stunned when, with just one swing of her sword, she cuts all the blades placed there. She even takes a secret picture of him and attacks a man there, but an injured shark comes towards Kenichi, which the old man stops just in time and advises him to stay away from it. After this, the old man introduces him to a man named Sakaki, who will train him, but Sakaki had no intention of taking him as his disciple. He shows Kenichi his deadly punch and says that if he trains with him, he will die within 3 days. Kenichi had no intention of dying at a young age, so he decides not to train in that dojo and starts leaving. However, when he sees another scary man, he faints right there. About that place called Ridge and Paku karate fighter Seo Sakaki tells them Gupt Mathai Boxing's Marsh Rapachai, many expert in types of Chinese martial arts, Ansaima, a warrior and philosopher, Aksam Kut Soji, and sword fighting and weapon handling. Mahir, Sugar Kosaka, is followed by grandfather himself. He is declared the head of the house, and after hearing all this, Kaneji's mind starts wandering, trying to handle it. An excuse to make tea for everyone. Instead of making Kenji alone among those fighters leaves and goes away, they think that what brought Kenichi here and what else? Grandfather. He will back out from taking admission. Ask him directly if he is Reason Paku. I want to join them, on which he hesitates a bit at first, but then he says yes, thinking that with them by joining, he too will become powerful. As soon as he says yes, he will get his details in a form, asks to write details and tells him to ask his unemployed to give him a month. By looking at the face of the person and reducing the money, speaks and finally comes. It seems like I thought they were only concerned with money, and as long as they're getting them, don't care about anything. That's why everyone is crazy. She brings tea for the masters and she starts paying. Dada tells that her fees. This is so much because they're economic. The situation is not going well right now, and it is only due to proper bookkeeping of fungi. They have been able to survive at home during this economic crisis. After hearing the rest of his responsibilities, in Kenichi feels that he has servants with him to behave, and at least He has to come there daily to protect grandfather decides to become a bean teacher. Make it because he has the ability to teach, has experience and is quite calm. Before the training started, Kenichi he begins to fear for his life and one starts regretting the decision in no time ruined his martial by accident. Kenichi asks about art experience. Admit your lack of experience and about being bullied at school, tells Bean assures him. After learning that the judge will be able to save himself, will become capable and he will be better than others. Also promises to use less power. But training her biggest shock of her life is found at the time of which is in the endurance tents. 2 big pots making him balance himself. Have to hold on to it and if it's even a little bit, if he stumbles, the needles will choke him and he'll burn from the bottom. He thinks if this is the initial development, so what will happen next? We'll have to train with another master. His heart trembles just thinking about it. When he stumbles, he is silenced by needles and he jumps in pain. Same gives him a little break. And again as part of his training, but aka gives a task to Kenichi. Pulling and running across 3 train stations will take you to a park. After that, Sam gives him rest. But Kenichi was so tired that he could hardly. He was able to walk due to which he returned to the dojo again. Thinks of leaving though to see Fungi. After that he changes his mind and goes back. Decides to come the next day to his reel. His training starts with water. Between the pillars with 2 big pitchers filled. He has to walk. He asks Kasem where the muscle is. When did he actually practice magic instead of training? We'll learn on this. Akasame tells that first Kenichi will have to increase his strength. Explaining this, he says that if an ant wants whatever technique the elephant uses, cannot be defeated by its own strength. But if the strength of both of them is equalized, then right now I am weaker than that ant. Genga Bejti Kenichi can't bear it. And then Jojo wants to leave but suddenly or reminding of the ant's hard work, seeing that charity inspires living, that Akasem now has his own student boxer Apachai, also wants to train him says, and in the same way Kenichi is pushed to his limits. This is enough for the elderly looks interesting and he got it from many masters, asks to be grateful for getting training. During this time, Fungi is aware of Damoji's plan. It is known about Kenichi. If he participates in the competition, he will kill him. Fungi will kill Kenichi about. This doesn't tell, but to help him. Some techniques in the park at night. She tells about her feet. Uvo, named by joining fingers together. Move shows and then out fast. Whoever roams around is called Ho, although he can't understand anything so he blames it on himself. Asks him to attack so that he can knock him down. Tell me about the art of getting out faster. First of all she could because she was a girl. Refuses to attack. But soon he realizes that the boy or being a girl has nothing to do with learning. So he does whatever she tells him. In the beginning it goes a little. There are difficulties but as they overcome them inspires and keeps improving. Fungi to go to school with him the next day. She is stuck and thinks that she has so much. Why is it taking so long but it will come soon? Sees Connie practicing the same footwork, coming towards her while doing what she did last night. He tells him that in the morning I left home early, but in this manner he was late because he was walking. Kenichi tells him to move on without her, but Ferengi is a good friend, refusing to do so while performing one's duty. Gives and comfortably accompanies him to school. D goes to face Manji's challenge, for when he enters the karate club he realizes how much water he is in. At the beginning of the match, Kenji Damaji's can't withstand attacks, but Rinji, by using the moves taught by succeeds in avoiding Manji's attack. He constantly avoids her attacks and uses a new technology that Dunji stumbles and falls G rebellion. While saying that Kenichi has used the trick but despite this, he is declared the winner, and to leave the club as per G's condition. It is said, but then Kenichi comes forward, and about using restrictive moves accepting his defeat, but instead he leaves the club himself, but to try to defeat him. Keniz is also proud of himself outside Private Maget, and she good fight. He praises him for that from there. Starts to leave but Kana stops him, and he says thank you, and then addresses him personally. Gives an intelligence report and says that the referee of today's match, Tsukaba, shows his ability. Desperate to fight him to test him, Kenichi begins to panic and begins to worry about his fate, because Tsukawa is his karate. The most powerful fighter in the club is from above. Najima makes fun of him and says that after the fight, God blesses his soul. Give peace and laugh like crazy. There goes to school the next day. Boys like Ferengi, and they try to befriend him, but they are surprised when she ignores him and goes to talk to Keniz, who is still scared about what happened yesterday. She was unaware of his mentality, and she told him that she joined the gymnastics club, and asks to leave the karate club. Which club has he joined after? To which Kenichi felt very embarrassed. Tells him that he joined the gardening club. And then the weeping plants goes to give water to, recognizes his mood and stops it, and wondering what to do about it now. Then Private Mother comes in between, and herself. Kenichi's loincloth friend tells her. Accepting the matter as truth, she introduces herself. And seeing this, the rest of the boys started burning. Saying this, he goes away from there and to meet her in gym class later. Says Tsukawa on the other hand during class. The reason why a walnut makes a sound after breaking it. The teacher tells him to be quiet. He can easily break walnuts with his hands. The teacher gets scared after seeing it and ignores. He continues to crack the nut. Keeps and thinks that Kenji Nene deliberately demonstrated his strength. Or was it just his luck that favored him? Dia later tells Nazima Farzi that Sukawa plans to fight Kenji, and emphasizes that Sukawa can break stones with his bare hands, is trembling beneath this beach, and she's in shock at the thought of fighting. Water goes to the plants even in the dojo. It's all about the junior competition. He is thinking about which he gets scared again, to relieve his anxiety if the beans. He starts training her himself. If you can pull someone like a horse, then there, Kansai. Her leg strength training. Gets it done and tells that in Masha T. How important is leg strength? After this, he started his warm-up routine. He tries to do it, but Kenichi runs away from there. Meanwhile, Sakaki goes to Fungi with that technique. Asks about what he told Kenichi. He tells her that even though to make him win against the bad guys taught, but now after he won, and even more powerful people judge your art about to compete with him for, would think that Engi gets stunned after hearing this, because Sakaki saw what is happening right now, had already guessed, and it is also understood that for this very reason the master's Kenichi doesn't have any technique yet. Sakaki tells him that in Kenichi, right now basic is lacking instant, and now, because of that, Kenichi was separated from other children. You will have to face hatred only then. It's words. Punch to Apachai. Kenichi proving blows up and Kenichi is very bad. Kindly gets seduced by his sister at home, wakes him up, and he is happy thinking about it that he has died and is now in heaven. But she tells Kenichi that she is still alive, and your concern over his condition reveals. During dinner, father questions him about his injuries and asks which dojo he joined. Is there even a Veda on which he believes? Realizes that the condition of the dojo is not good, and he gets up from there and goes to his son's house. Raised his father Bandu to protect. But Kenichi's mother gives them Lhasa, gives that Kenichi's love without holding back, facing fear his determination. Shows the reason why they like this dojo, trusting your son to choose. Want Kenichi and Firenji Tsukaba. The next day climb over the school fence to escape, and she sees that day and night gymnastics class is getting stronger. I saw a girl named Shama in her received praise for excellent performance, but when frenzy during stretching. If you demonstrate your flexibility, then every seeing this someone starts praising him. The flame starts burning, and it burns completely. Challenges for performance, and it takes a deep breath and looks at her wonderful demonstrates gymnastics skills. Everyone never gets tired of praising him. At the same time, Takasama would have burnt him to ashes. They all consider him as their master, and expressed her desire to learn it. Meanwhile, through the eyes of Kenichi Tsukaiba, hiding in the locker room in an attempt to escape goes, but here too, his fate betrays him. Gives and becomes Tsukabad. Takes Tsukabad comes and asks to compete, but he starts begging to be let go. While blowing dry air, he calls him a coward. Because of this, Kenichi gets angry, and his challenge Kenichi accepts Tsukabad beats Kar badly. But despite this, Kenichi does not accept defeat, and Tsukawa holds his leg tightly, kicked him to free his hand, and in the end, Kenichi let go of her leg after getting tired. But his grip was so strong that Pinji became a mark on Tsukaba's feet. When she returns home, she finds Kenichi there, and asks him about his injury. But Kenichi tells him that he wants to live. Fell and goes from there. Sakaki him, tells many boys their sorrow. Hesitate to tell girls and advises that he is currently, but let him suddenly heal his wound, and Kenichi, for working so hard. Despite this, he sometimes regrets losing. Asks about the intentions upon which to dry up and give it your strength and courage. Asam expresses willingness to accept, gives him Lhasa, and says that his technical training will start from tomorrow. Kenichi's desire to hear his words reminds me of what he said to his master. Saeed, after knowing that Kenichi from yesterday, Apachai can take technical training, immediately come forward to train him. Akasam goes and tells him that he needs his limits should be understood but not limited to them. Doesn't pay attention and behaves like a child. Kenichi gets his first student while doing declares the next day, aka same one. Rani brings Buddha statue, and Kenichi tells that today he is throwing her date crate. Kenichi is going to teach a technique called is asked to throw the statue, but he finds it very difficult to even pick it up. Suddenly noticed his center of gravity, asks to give and tells that if they can break the balance of the enemy, then you can easily throw it away after this counterattack with the help of Kansai Firenji. He shows the technique of practice, but as soon as he immediately comes from there to give him training. Runs away though. Sugar catches him and hands it over to the oppressor. There are no desires. Despite this, he puts on boxing gloves and prays to God for his life. At the beginning of the training, until Kenichi, everything was fine till I was patting. But as soon as he was hit with his fist when he asks to escape, he shocks him right there. Feigns as he starts throwing techniques and counterattack techniques. Practice makes his training more intense. It happens every time that statue is lowered to the ground. If you hit it, then it will be easier next time. Instead, it becomes more difficult to lift it. At this time, Sakaki is doing his training from a distance, sees, and he slowly begins to like her. Looks like he's staying for more than 3 days. Praises Kenichi for this, and praises the statue for Kenichi. Suddenly asks to look carefully. The statue is visible from the last time. It is a little big, and will soon change to different sizes. One would also find a room full of Buddha statues of where the beans come from, cleverly used every day. The statue was being changed, showing mercy on it. Sakaki gives him a day off and starts anew. He offers to teach the technique about opponent's karate style, asks, but Kenshi tells him that I don't know. At first, Sakaki got angry at his answer, goes, but soon calms down, and to show the stand of Tsukaba. Whatever he says, he shows it to her, tells that there is Tsukabad style, and it is called a will teach. Such a technique that Tsukabad sugar and aka beans would be surprising. Sakaki is interested in teaching someone fungi is showing in school. After this, sees Tsukaiba beating some boy. If it is going on, then she comes in between and stops it when Tsukabad shakes his hand. Seeing Furty, he asks her to fight, but then Kenichi suddenly decided to be a man. Comes there while performing his duty and stops fighting, and then instead of Eng, he challenges Tsukawa on his behalf. She explains to Kenichi that she will not fight him now, not as powerful, but Kenichi himself. Decision remains, and the fight begins. And the technique taught by Auntie to Kenichi, and on the face of Tsukaba goes to attack. But the other hand, this technique kills the stomach, or Suzuki says Ubasa, which is like Tsukawa. Sports karate style players proves effective every time. Against Kenichi recalls many things that happen to Sakaki that keeps people from getting punched in the face, often feels scared, so he hides his face cover up and taking advantage of this, by targeting other parts of their body. Tsukabad may come and attack him. Does, but Kenichi uses his counterattack technique, and finally throwing. Gives Tsukabad using technique. Tsukawa was much lighter than the statue, because of which Kenichi threw him easily. Kenichi quickly comes to him and checks to see if someone else has died, but she breathed a sigh of relief after checking his pulse. It feels good to see Paranji taking it. That Kenichi puts his opponent before his own well-being. He is taking care of the condition of, proudly tells that he won Tsukabad, but Sakaki tells him that his difficulties will start now, and about this, I will find out soon. In the next day, Kenichi feels a little awkward at school because everyone around him is afraid of him. Looks like he tells Farzi about it, after which he comes to know that the private celebrated his victory against Tsukaba, and because of that, he also gets nervous. Although Funji is with Nijima this time, gives and reveals that he, instead of gossiping, tell him about Kenichi. Just then, they saw that 2 goons Mawali is searching for him, and seeing him, they hide behind Nizwa like small children. Goes here and finds out that they are goons, are members of a gang named Ragnarok, and to hear of Kenichi's victory against Tsukawa, looking to challenge him after. After they leave, Nijima scares Kenichi, and says that after lakhs of rupees, there is no tax on hospital bills. Kenichi begins to tremble with fear, and once again blames his bad luck.